Hello everyone, welcome back to Learniverse. Today we are going to explore the suppress positive response message indication bit or SPRMIB in UDS. This particular bit plays an important role in automotive diagnostics by allowing us to control responses from the ECU. Let's get into it. SPRMIB is only supported in certain diagnostic services that use subfunction bytes. So, what does SPRMIB do? It gives us control over whether the ECU should send a positive response back to the client. Here is how it works. When bit 7 is set to 1, the ECU will not send a positive response. This is what we call suppression of positive response. When bit 7 is 0, the ECU will send the positive response to the client, meaning there is no suppression. One key thing to remember is that negative responses are independent of bit 7. This means that even if positive responses are suppressed, negative responses will still be sent if there is an issue. Lastly, bits 0 to 6 in the subfunction byte are used for the subfunction parameter values which define specific actions for the service. Let's look at how SPRMIB applies to different types of UDS services. On the left, we have services that do not use a subfunction byte, such as clear diagnostic session and request download. These services perform direct actions and don't allow for response suppression with SPRMIB, as they do not include a subfunction byte. On the right hand side, we see services that do use a subfunction byte like diagnostic session control and security access. These services can make use of SPRMIB. By setting bit 7 in the subfunction byte, we can choose whether or not the ECU should send a positive response. So, if SPRMIB is set to 1 in these services, the ECU will suppress the positive response, improving efficiency by reducing unnecessary responses. If SPRMIB is 0, the ECU sends the positive response as usual. So with this setup, we can use SPRMIB only when needed, giving us better control over the communication for services that support subfunctions. Now let's look at an example to understand how SPRMIB works in a real diagnostic scenario. In UDS, services with the subfunction byte like tester present service with service ID 3E can make use of SPRMIB. So here you can see how the subfunction byte is structured with bit 7 designated as SPRMIB. When SPRMIB is set to 0, in this example, ECU will send a positive response to the client, which means if the client or tester sends a request with SPRMIB set to 0, the ECU responds with a message indicating success. On the right hand side, you can see the message flow as well. For a positive response, the ECU sends back a response frame with PCI length and SID as 3E and subfunction code indicating success. If there is an issue, the ECU will respond with a negative response shown by SID 3E and 7F indicating it's a negative response, followed by an error code which is nothing but an NRC specifying the type of an issue. Now let's continue with another example to see what happens when SPRMIB is set to 1. In this case, we are still looking at the same tester present service example with service ID 3E. However, here SPRMIB, which is bit 7 in the subfunction byte, is set to 1, which means the ECU will suppress the positive response. On the right hand side, we can see the message flow. If the tester or client sends a request with SPRMIB set to 1, the ECU will not send a positive response back as it is indicated by the message flow labeled no response from ECU. However, if there is an issue, the ECU will still send a negative response. This response contains PCI length and negative response identifier 7F and the service ID 3E and an error code NRC indicating the type of issue. By setting SPRMIB to 1, we effectively suppress the positive acknowledgement, helping reduce communication when an acknowledgement is not needed, but still allowing error reporting if necessary. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this session on SPRMIB in UDS informative and helpful. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, share and subscribe to Learniverse for more technical content like this. Stay tuned for more and see you in the next video.